We have quite a lot of stuff to cover. Let's try to be fast. Quick introductions. My name is Osma AHVENLAMPI. I'm a CTO of Sulake and been with the company for almost, actually, in a week's time, 8 years.
And my name is Teemu Huuhtanen. I'm the EVP for BizDev, and I've been with the company for 8.5 years. And over half of that I've been based here in, not here, but down in LA.
Okay, so that's about us. What we're talking today about is first of all, some of you may not know Habbo Hotel. We'll give a quick intro to that, and we'll have a video that probably opens it up quite nicely. I will try to give a counterpoint to Aki's argument about less and more social by telling you guys why is Habbo different from other social games. And the rest of the presentation will look at a few lessons learned from our timeline, which is rather long. So Habbo has been around for 11 years. We started in 2000 with it. Actually, before we started with Habbo Hotel, our founders had this chat environment called the Mobiles Disco in 1999, and that was the predecessor to Habbo. When you see screenshots of the modern Habbo, you will recognize some pieces of it, but this was a very crude environment compared to what Habbo is today. Habbo today is about 220 million registered users over 11 years.
And over which 42 million were active during the last 12 months, and 2 million actually paid. So, you know, we'll come back to monetization, but everyone can do the math, you know, what the paying percentage is. And then about Habbo, before we show the video, I think most of the companies that have been talking today are really targeting an older audience than we are. And in fact, like if you ask most of the companies, they're going to say that they don't even target teens because they think teens cannot be monetized. So our users are really between 13 and 16. It goes a bit, you know, lower, for example, in the Nordic countries. When we go down to South America, they tend to be a bit older, up to 18. And Habbo is really like, the way I like to explain Habbo, that it's all about like self-expression and really experimenting new stuff. So when you create let's say you create a boy character, you can always go to a girl character and basically try to, you know, start talking to her. And, you know, if you totally mess up, she doesn't like you, you can always change your character, go back and, you know, continue the conversation. So it's for teens, it's really trying out these things in real life, but they can do it like virtually in Habbo. And
yeah, to expand on that a bit, I mean, being a teen is the age where you try to experiment on who are you going to be when you're an adult. Who would you like to be, and how would you like to compare yourself to your peer community? And especially here in the States, and imagine the high school environment here, it's kind of dangerous to start experiment. You will experiment too far and you will lose your own entire status in the community. So anonymous virtual environments like Habbo Hotel are, in this sense, a perfect environment for experimentation on trying to do something that you wouldn't dare to do in the real world. But yeah.
Oh yeah, about the revenue. People, you know, usually ask us like, how come you guys are showing all these numbers? Because nobody else is doing that. We're not public. So there's the revenues for the past like 10 years. And last year in USD, we did around $80 million of revenue and clearly profitable and cash flow positive.
2 million paying users, $80 million revenue. Take the math on that and let's talk about what monetizes and how is free to play and more social working. So let's look at the video to show you.
Tonight, we bring you an exclusive interview with the man who went undercover to seek out the mastermind behind the craziness and creativity of the world's largest hotel. Personality-packed parties, crazy contraptions, spectacular snowball fights, and thousands of imaginations running wild. These are just a few of the reports from people who have ventured inside Habbo Hotel. Here now is a man who has seen it all firsthand. Tell us, how did you find your way inside?
It was so easy. There are all sorts of ways to get there. Millions of people check in every day.
Okay, so set the scene. You're in the lobby. It's time to assume your new identity. At that moment, what's going through your mind?
That this was kidding fun. I got to make my Habbo any way I wanted. Size, gender, skin color, whatever I felt in the mood for. Finally, I get to try out that green mohawk I always wanted.
Now, once you entered, tell us what you encountered next.
It's just like any real hotel. You get a room when you check in. The difference is, it's the only hotel where everyone gets to decorate their own room any way they want, with millions of items to choose from and purchase in the Habbo catalog.
At this point, you were all alone in this gigantic hotel?
Well, not for long. I bought a pet. And wherever I went, new friends started noticing me right away. They showed me all around. Next thing I knew, I was bouncing off walls, becoming a superstar sports hero, and afterwards, enjoying a cozy dinner for two. Everywhere I went, it was like I was a celebrity, just for being myself. I even met a few real-world celebrities.
But wait, what viewers want to know is, did you finally discover the mysterious genius behind all these clubs, games, and events?
The answer was right there all along. There is no mastermind. Everything in Habbo is created by other Habbos just like me. We are what makes Habbo Hotel so cool.
Viewers, you heard it here. A stunning revelation, sure to send shockwaves through the world of social games. The genius of Habbo is its users. Habbos just like you. Habbo Hotel.
Check in and check it out.
Core of Habbo Hotel really is about friends, creativity in this experimentation field, and attention from other people. And in that video that you just saw, I wish I could get to my slides here.
Try my laptop.
Okay.
Yeah, keep talking.
In that video you just saw every one of those avatars was another player. And that really is what sets Habbo apart from every other social game, especially the games in the Facebook area. I agree with Aki. Every one of those is a massively single-player experience, all about parallel play. Whereas Habbo is all about play with your friends real time.
Yeah, one question, Mac adapter, Technics here, anyone? Okay, we have to do without slides. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's the one. But you can see the slides.
I can't control my computer.
Okay.
Just, completely
there you go. Well, let's go for the learnings. Like we thought that for the first time, like we would actually talk about the stuff where we totally messed up. That where the company seriously lost millions of dollars because we made wrong decisions. And before we get to China, I'll talk about like how back in the day, back in 03, 04, we kept going to all these new countries. And everyone else, or nobody else was talking to the media companies, like traditional like TV stations or radio stations, print, what have you. But we were kind of like bold enough to go and talk to those guys and ask them to do a simple partnership where they would put Habbo on air, on TV, and we would monetize the traffic. And back then, you know, there was no Facebook, there was no social games and what have you, and even games were really like a new thing for the media companies, and they were kind of like, okay, let's try it. So we did all kinds of different partnerships, like from joint ventures to, you know, all kinds of, you know, licensed. We did license Habbo in a few countries to a local kind of media company and what have you. But, you know, back then, like, even today, the countries where Habbo is the strongest, for example, like France and so on, like, Habbo was launched through the local media company. So that was kind of, you know, the thing that where we succeeded. And still, I don't see many companies doing that. And now we pretty much get to China. And
before we get there, let me skip back a bit back into the social mechanics of the thing. So there was a presentation by Mia Consalvo this spring GDC where she covered her studies of 80 different social games, mostly on Facebook, and what were the social game mechanics that she found in them. And to summarize all of that into one slide, what she found was 5 different mechanics, 3 of them asynchronous, 2 of them live, real-time. You have the friend bar. Aki told about how it can be deeply social because it is your friends. I agree, but it's asynchronous. It's not a social experience in the sense that I would actually meet anyone. Gifting, same thing. You send messages. It's slipping the paper under the door, but you don't actually get to meet anyone there either. Same with visiting. That could be a social experience, and in Habbo Hotel it is a social experience because actually you're visiting people in their rooms when they're there, or if your friend isn't there, someone else is, and you can make new friends. But in most social games on Facebook, visiting means you visit a stage that is actually empty. There is no one else there. There are examples of games where there are actual other players in there. Texas Hold'em Poker, of course, you're playing with other people. There are other games where there are challenges, and some games have their own chat from before Facebook had chat. Now, the example of Habbo Hotel, our first task for a new user is to find another player and talk to them. That is social. I mean, we put the social experience of actually meeting other people and interacting with them to the core of the game, and that's been there way before Facebook and way before anyone had had concepts that we now call social games. This was what Habbo was at the core. We put game mechanics on top of it afterwards. Why do we do that? Is shown in this chart. The red line is I'm sorry I can't tell you the axis absolute figures, but the red line is the relative share of new users who make a friend within their first visit. The green line is how much time they spend in the service while they're new users. And you can see there's a clear correlation. If something prevents them from making friends, they will not spend as much time. So having friends is a really important engagement figure, which is why we drive it all everywhere. So once you finish the quest of actually meeting someone and talking to them, your next task is to make a friend. And where you make your friends is environments created by other people. So this is a social hangout with a small pool in it. That's cool. This is a role-playing environment where people get married. That's a deep social experience, I think. And with that, back to...
Okay, so now back to China. So I thought it was important to tell like how we partnered in different countries before. I have to say it was our investors who said like we have to go to China. And this is like many years ago when people were kind of thinking that you can go to China. And we were like, okay, let's go to China, like no problem. We went to all these countries. And we totally blew it, but I think we did really good work, but there's a couple of reasons why we did not succeed. First of all, like we talked to everyone, Shanda, The Nine, Tencent, you name it, everyone. And, you know, Habbo was kind of a known company, you know, for those companies, so we had good discussions, and we actually had a choice between different companies, like who do we work with. So then we knew that we're going to need the license to operate the game in China, because we didn't want to license Habbo away, we wanted to still operate it. So we chose the government of China, so CITIC. So we were like, you know, now we're golden, like nothing is going to stop us and so forth. But, you know, the day we signed the deal, we got hammered, like, you know, that's the way they do business in China. Next day we're at the office and they're like, we don't like these 3 things, and whatever, it was 5, so let's negotiate. When we thought, okay, let's go and launch the game, they're like, you know, no, let's go back to the table. But even, you know, before this moment, there was so many technical reasons and difficulties that we didn't know before we went to China. Like, maybe we didn't do our homework, but a lot of stuff came up as we, you know, were setting up the office and what have you. And Osma can talk about the technical difficulties.
Yeah. So 2 primary things that we were prepared to deal with. First of all, we were using shockwave technology at a time. I will get back to that, but that was a problem because there was no Chinese language shockwave version. The second one was that China is even in 2006 it was bigger than most other markets in terms of internet penetration. A number of people online already back 5 years ago, and games were a huge deal. So we thought we will have to deal with numbers concurrency that we haven't ever dealt with before, and the scale will be a difficult problem. Our partner definitely told us that the scale will be a difficult problem, and that we need to be able to deal with 500,000 concurrent users at the same time on the launch day. So okay, let's do the math. We've done 70,000 until now, and 500,000, 8 times more. So we went into a big development phase, during which pretty much everything changed many times over. We were working on scale. I think we got it to work on that scale. Problem is that it never launched because of other reasons. Yeah. So what we learned there is that we need to launch earlier. We cannot spend 6, 7, 8 months doing one thing and then maybe fail it. And this chart illustrates why. I've chosen the axes completely at random. I've tried to make it readable. But what you have here is essentially red is costs. You are developing something and that costs money. Green is revenue. You're getting it at some point. And blue is your cumulative cost or loss on the timeline. If you're doing upfront development for 8 months, you're not getting any costs, and your revenue and your costs are accumulating up. In this particular chart, they're going to minus 2,000. You could call it minus 2 million, minus 2 billion, whatever you want to. And on the right side, because you launched earlier, let's say month 3, you are starting to get revenue as well. So you never accumulate as deep down in the minus side, even though you actually spend more money over the time. And why this is important is that if you break the project at month 9, you're either minus 2 million down in the hole, or you're minus 500,000 down in the hole. I would rather be minus 500,000 at that point. So until then, we had done waterfall, big projects, big launches. From that point onwards, we did iterative development. And with iterative development comes a lot of measurement. So we have worked on many different measurement models since then. Every social games company today does measurement, of course, but how you measure is very important. I would be happy to talk about the funnels in quite a lot of detail, but we don't have the time for that today. 2008 came along. Yeah.
Facebook showed up, and I remember, like, you know, the first discussions that I had with our CEO, we were saying, like, you know, Facebook and games is never going to happen. We were so annoyed with all the requests and what have you that we were like 100% sure that it's a fad and it's going to go away, so we don't need to do anything about Facebook. Then, like, maybe a couple of months went, and we were like shied, like we were wrong. We have to do something about this, and we saw all these competitors to pop up, and we saw that our users are going to play those games. And the only thing back then, 2008, was like Habbo would not work on that platform, so we couldn't go on Facebook even though we wanted. And
yeah, and that reason was the same reason that was one of our problems in China, Shockwave Player. Shockwave Player had been a good tool for us for the past 8 years until then. In the turn of the century, it was pretty much the only tool available that could be done, could do something this rich on a web browser. But by 2008, it was a complete dead end, and we needed to do something. Now, we estimated that we would need 6 man-years of work to replace the client. We could, of course, compress it down to way less by having a large team doing it, but you can't have a huge team doing one thing. Anyway, we chose to do Flash, and that particular rewrite worked, even though it was a big project. Why did it work was essentially about 2 things. we decided early on that we would maintain it side-by-side compatible all through the project. We would be able to run the Flash client, even when it was not done, we would be able to run it against our live servers, meeting people who are actually live users using the Shockwave client, and vice versa. And that meant that on the other hand, we needed to do quite a lot of work for the Shockwave maintenance to make it easier to do the Flash version. But on the other hand, it gave us the needed flexibility to decide when do we actually want to roll this out. The other part was that we decided that we will not do any new features while we're doing this technology transition. We will delay all the new features until we've actually transitioned over. And what turned out to happen is that instead of the 8 to 10 months that we thought we would need to do it, it actually took 13 until we launched it to beta users, actual live customers, and 18 months before we got rid of the Shockwave technology entirely. However, that was because we were doing iterative development. There were times when we needed to scale back on this new tech creation and go back to do more on Shockwave so that we could get the business going or keep the business going. And we weren't in enormous pressure to complete the work because we could parallelize both tracks all the time. And of course, we did run both side by side for 6 months, and that gave our users the opportunity to actually voluntarily decide when they want to transfer over. And at the end of the day, we didn't have to force anyone to move over because the Flash client was so much faster and so much more convenient to use.
Okay, so what are we working on right now? Here's a picture of these teens playing something what we call Battle Banzai, but the point is like they can call it whatever they want. So for this, one of these users, first of all, had to buy all these different items you see here. So everyone can set up their own games, invite their friends, and set their own rules. And that's why Osma and I were saying that Habbo is a social game, because it's like real people playing against real other people in real time. And
this particular game mechanic supports 4 teams, 4 person per team, so that's 16 people multiplayer, player versus player.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, we're focusing on bringing in more game elements to Habbo, making more like a game-like.
So, into the monetization. Teemu, you want to start with this?
Yeah, sure. So, Habbo is free to play, freemium game, and really the money comes from those, when the people, for example, set up those games that you just saw. And we do have like our own subscription or membership, which we call Habbo Club or Habbo VIP. And constantly it's around 30% of the revenues on a monthly basis. And then like other really well selling, kind of categories would be pets. So different kind of like, cats, dogs, and you have to buy food for them and so forth.
Train them, so forth.
Yeah. You want to talk about the marketplace?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that sets Habbo apart from many other games is that we actually do have a free trade marketplace in many different forms inside the Habbo community. We allow people to trade things on a face-to-face basis. We also have a marketplace for auctioning within the game. And the other I will be talking, if time allows, I'll be talking some more details on that. The other thing is that, this is probably true for any other free-to-play developer, but we really do see the non-paying users as a valuable part of the community, even though they're not directly bringing revenue. None of our paying users would be paying if there wasn't the other audience and other culture by the other members around.
Okay, so one way to monetize these non-paying users is definitely advertising, and this is what we call 3 Ps. So person, place, and peer influence. So obviously not all, but a lot of companies are using advertising as like one of their revenue sources. And but I think we have a different approach. Like in Zynga games, if you see, McDonald's or what have you, it's kind of a one-person experience. Like, you might see, the branded items in your game, but nobody else is really there. You don't interact with the brand that much. So what we do is like we always engage the users first. So what we found out works really well is to give them different like what do you call them? Effects. So you can maybe hover around and move around, or you have cool clothes, what have you, but they're always branded. So like here's three different examples. They're all movies, but we've done this for all kinds of other advertisers. But once you have one person to wear that blue head for like Megamind, and the other person sees that they want to have the same head right away. And as you can see, like I think with Megamind, within the first 24 hours, like something ridiculous, like 2.2 million people were wearing these heads. So obviously it's much more powerful than building like a virtual room or what have you to get the word out. And one thing with advertising that I think every other company is thinking about is like how tough it is actually at the end of the day to sell these campaigns, because every game is selling pretty much kind of a different thing. They might have different metrics and so forth. So what we're struggling with is really to crack the advertising so that it's more like self-served, like like Google AdWords or what have you. But we know that there's like offers are a really good thing that came up like a few years ago, and video ads and stuff like that. But not all of it like really can actually be put in these virtual worlds. So like showing video on top of that, like it's going to break the illusion that you're in this virtual space. So
and one really important distinction is that all of these standardized advertising styles are really about the game or the developer channeling a message from the advertiser to all the users, but it's very impersonal, whereas this is the users bringing the brand to their peers.
Yeah, and advertising sales have been constantly like between 10 to 15% of our overall revenue year on year. So it's not really like growing, but it's a kind of a nice add-on. But we're definitely focusing on virtual goods. And as you can see, like we pretty much work with all the big advertisers during the years. And one different thing that we haven't seen that many other games doing is bringing these real life celebrities in Habbo, and kind of like from our point of view, this is all user acquisition. It's obviously for the users, it's good content to have like a chance to talk to Ozzy Osbourne or Pink or Miley Cyrus, what have you. But still, like not that many people are doing this. And by the way, one more secret that I don't think anyone knows, but we've never paid to any of these celebrities, whether it's Justin Bieber or what have you. Like we never pay. So. But the idea obviously is nowadays, back in the days, we were doing this because we thought it was cool and the users would love it. Nowadays, like we actually do analyze like how many followers does that person have on Twitter, how many fans do they have on Facebook, kind of trying to understand how many people can they bring into Habbo. It's obviously quite a bit of work to go and meet these celebrities, do the kind of the celebrity visit, and the interviews and what have you, but sometimes it really pays off. And on the next slide, this is from today's People magazine. So the circulation is 3.6 million people or copies, and this is just a story about when Miley, Justin, and what's her name, Selena, came to Habbo and kind of did their visit and wrote a note to their younger selves, like, kind of thinking that, what would they do differently, if they were like 11 years old right now. And, it doesn't have like huge Habbo.com here or anything, but, if you read the text, it says like, these people came to Habbo Hotel and so forth. So it can be a really good like branding and user acquisition tool.
Why did they come to Habbo Hotel? Is that because they can have a more engaging, more direct conversation with their fans on Habbo than they could on Twitter? Of course, they reach more people at once on Twitter, but it's not as engaging.
Plus, they always want to sell something. Yeah. So, we have to promote the upcoming, movie or album or what have you.
Okay, so on to the virtual economy and user sales side of things. So Habbo's revenue is almost entirely from micropayments for virtual items. as Teemu said, the advertising side is always has remained a small piece of the entire pie, and we haven't really understood why doesn't it get bigger pie, a bigger slice of the pie. But I guess that's because the monetization side works so well. 2 million paying users, $80 million revenue last year. Do the math. So why does it work? Well, first of all, the item catalog is very big. It's interesting. You can create a huge amount of variety with the rooms using it. Second of all, it is collectible items, and with collectible items comes that you can actually trade them. There is an economy behind it. So how I would define what is an economy is that the participants in that economy must be able to exchange value. It's not enough to have currencies and we sell currencies and users use that currency to buy something from us. If they can't buy something from their peers, it's not an economy. With the economy factor comes a very important piece. There are a lot of users with no money or very little money. And then there are a few users who have an enormous amount of value. Each one of those gold bars.
This is like $4,000 worth of like items in this.
Each one of those gold bars is 50 coins, which is about $8. There's stacks and stacks and stacks of it. And this is an actual user who has actually over 8 years, they have collected this value by trading, by buying, but with masterful use of the economy. And one other way of looking at the same thing is that the bars here are 4 different segments. People who are just casually visiting, people who are regular Habbo users, people who are customers, and then the high spenders. The bars represent, the blue is the number of users in that segment out of the entire total, whereas the orange is the amount of time they spend. The people who spend a lot of money spend almost all of the time as well. 50% of the entire time comes out of the 5% of users who we call high spenders in this category. They are just dominating everything in the economy and in the gameplay. So yeah, that's the power of actual virtual economies.
Okay, and this is actually the last slide. So the future of Habbo, like the way we see that Habbo is still going to keep growing, and it has still like another 11 years or what have you ahead, is that we believe that Habbo is such a strong IP that it can be leveraged on all these other platforms. Necessarily, like, we don't mean that the same experience will be on mobiles and so forth, but you know, the video that you by accident saw, like that's the first iPhone game that we're launching, like actually as soon as Apple is going to approve that, so within a week or what have you. And Osma, you want to talk about tablets?
Yeah, sure. So the way that we see this, these new platforms is first of all, they're extremely exciting. Of course, I think that the transitioning to touch computing is the biggest thing to personal computing since the Commodore 64. But tablets, because they are a sit-down device where you actually have quite a lot of screen space and you can actually interact with it using both hands, it will support quite similar concepts as PC and browser gaming does. It's just that the UI is different. Whereas mobile gaming actually resembles Facebook gaming in the sense that you have to have concepts that work in 2 minutes. They have to be able to, you have to be able to put them away and take them out half an hour later and continue where you left. It doesn't support real-time interaction as well as tablets and PC do.
Yeah, and even though like you saw that we didn't really succeed in China, like we feel that there's quite a few big markets that we can still go to and localize, meaning like them having their Habbo on their own language, like Turkey, Poland, and so forth. So we definitely think that there's a lot of room for growth in terms of like just going to new markets. And I guess that's it. Like one more lesson learned. Next time we have to check, that the computer works.
Yeah, well, we did, but it broke down in the middle. Any questions? We are a bit over time already, but.
We have time for maybe one.
Okay. I saw your hand first.
I just have a question about your development. You were talking about the users being side by side when you had to switch over from Shockwave. I'd like to know if you were talking about moving to Facebook at the same time. Were you talking about users making the choice to switch to Facebook, or were you talking about your regular game making the choice to switch there or go to Facebook?
Good question. I was actually, the question was where did users make the side-by-side choice? They made it both ways. The Shockwave client and the Flash client were available to users at the same time, and we first we gave Flash available to a beta group early on. Then we made it voluntary for everyone. Then we later on turned it into a default, but made it possible for you to play with the Shockwave client if you really, really wanted to. Then we took that away. So that was always voluntary. Same with Facebook. You are now able to play the same character on the destination site and on Facebook and interact with users coming from both channels.
Did the Shockwave accounts switch over?
Shockwave was gone by the time that we launched Facebook.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.